Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. Hope everyone's doing well. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday for those of you who work that Monday to Friday grind. I'm sure you're all looking forward to the weekend, and I guess depends on where you are in the world. The weekend's already started, so hopefully everyone's doing good. You know, this morning, maybe it was yesterday, I saw initially on Facebook actually, that the Ring magazine has been asking who has the best heavyweight jab in history. And I thought that's a really interesting question. Now, Facebook being what Facebook is, you're going to get some kind of interesting, shall we say, answers. And I think one of the problems is a thing called recency bias. You know, we see somebody being stopped off a jab, and we think, oh, that's the best heavyweight jab in history. It's understandable. But I thought what I would do, because I kind of like boxing history, as you know, I would sort of, put my thinking cap on and spend some time sort of just kind of assessing it. And I came up with my top 5 best heavyweight jabs in history. It'll be interesting because, of course, this is just one guy's opinion. What your thinking is, especially if you think I've left somebody out. Now, I'm going to start off in reverse order for 2 reasons. One, very frankly, it simply builds a little bit of interest and people will maybe watch the video a little bit longer than otherwise. But I also like to do it that way, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, without further ado, let's go to number 5. Now, this person's style may not be to everyone's taste. I get that. It's not to my taste either. Okay? I'm not absolutely a huge fan, but facts is what facts is, as they say. And my number 5 is none other than the great Ukrainian Vladimir Klitschko. You cannot deny, even if you don't like his style, that he used his jab to build one of the most dominant heavyweight runs in history. People like to forget how dominant the Klitschko era was. I often think had Vlad been an American or a Brit, his legacy would be much, much more gilded than it is. But, what can you do, right? I would say that Vlad's jab was it was mechanical, it was powerful, and he kept guys outside, right? He kept them off balance to set up for that lethal right hand. And much like Canada's Lennox Lewis, he was trained by Emanuel Stewart, and Stewart turned Vlad's jab into a weapon of control. Because really, that's what the jab is. It's to control everything, isn't it? Let's go to number 4. We've just mentioned the man's name. The Brit-Canadian, or Canadian-Brit, whichever way you like to think of it. I remember a time when British people, didn't want to know Lennox Lewis. Oh, he was a Canadian. But then, of course, once he became, a super winning all-time great, he was brought back into that bosom of the motherland. Yes. I mean, not just Britain does that. Canada did it with Ben Johnson, the sprinter. He was Canada's greatest. Then when he was caught cheating, he was, this Jamaican guy. Ooh, So, whatever. Now, Lennox Lewis used his jab like a scalpel. Clean, disciplined, and it completely shut guys down. Lennox, of course, another big man, 6'5", long reach, keep the man at range, control the tempo, and dictate the fight behind that jab. And when you wanted to turn that jab up, well, boom, that jab could turn into a real sort of punching spear. It sets up that crushing right hand. And again, Manny Stewart. Under Manny Stewart, that jab became a real sort of masterpiece. Now, make sure I got my notes in order. So I don't want to get myself confused here. Number 3, one of my favorite fighters of all time. And again, a fellow, I've done, of course, a video on him, a fellow whose reputation and legacy is, in my view, understated. In fact, lots of modern, sort of casual fans, barely know how good he was. And that's the Big Bear, Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston had a mean jab. Absolutely. I mean, Sonny Liston was a pretty mean guy all round. And both inside and outside the ring. I often engage in thinking about people like Sonny Liston, and I imagine someone like George Fox standing in front of Sonny Liston, threatening Sonny like he did Alexander Usyk. Oh, wouldn't that be sweet? Of course. Anyhow, never mind. Sonny Liston, his jab wasn't like a setup thing. He didn't use it just to control distance and keep people away. It was a weapon in itself. Like Sonny Liston had an enormous reach. He also had some weight for the day behind that jab. And remember, Muhammad Ali, when he was still called Cassius Clay, he said Liston's jab was like being hit by a telegraph pole. And a lot of boxing writers at the time said they'd never seen anything like Liston's jab. An exceptional weapon in and of itself. And if you look back at, the videos that are available of Sonny Liston, you can see opponents really getting rocked, not by hooks or uppercuts or crosses, but just the jab. It truly was, much like everything about Sonny, a thing of violence. And again, Sonny Liston, in my view, a much, much underrated heavyweight champion. I think it's fair to say that the losses to Ali and the way that people sort of categorize that, I think Sonny gets a raw deal. There's my pitch for Sonny, right? Anyhow, moving on. Number 2, the silver medalist, the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Now, Ali's jab was more than just a punch. It was part of his rhythm, part of the magic that made Ali, Ali, especially in the earlier phases of Ali's career. He was lightning fast. I mean, people need to remember, how fast Ali was. Nobody had ever seen anything like this at heavyweight. And he was sharp. Ali was always on the move, so that jab would just have that sting on it. He didn't really load up. He just touched guys, frustrating them. And it piled up points. It also broke their rhythm. This is a little bit like Alexander Usyk, isn't it, really? So when you also thought, okay, I've got Ali sorted out, I'll make adjustments, well, then he would come with a different angle. It would change it up. And Angelo Dundee, of course, with bias, but Angelo Dundee, a man who knew what he was talking about, said Ali's jab was like a cobra strike. And I think a lot of people got very frustrated and hurt by the jab of Muhammad Ali. So I get Muhammad Ali as my number 2 best jab in heavyweight boxing history. Number 1, in my view, there's a bit of a gulf between number 1 and the rest. The Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. I don't think it's even close, to be honest. It was fast, snappy, relentless. Larry Holmes threw his jab like a bullwhip. He didn't just use it to score. Very much like Lennox, he used it to dominate. He could throw a single, he could throw it as a double, he could throw it as a triple, he could throw it off the back foot, he could do it when he was moving sideways. And when people thought, okay, I've figured this out, that jab set up, one of the most underrated right hands in history. And George Foreman, a man who himself knew a lot about the jab. I mean, you could argue that George Foreman should be in this list. He said about Larry Holmes, he had the best jab in boxing, period. So again, you know, I take what George Foreman says to heart, because George Foreman is a guy who knew about this. Now, so that's my top 5 in the correct order. It is Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko. Let me know what your top 5 is. Let me know also if I've left somebody out. How about Joe Louis? How about Riddick Bowe? Again, how about Big George? There's lots of guys that you could say deserve a slot in this. Take a lot to kick Larry Holmes off the number 1 spot though, eh? Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. It's just one guy's opinion. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous day. And if you can, please like, share if you like, and please subscribe. And again, a huge thank you to all the subscribers, and particularly those who've recently joined the channel. Hopefully you'll go back into some of the historical stuff we've got here, some of the collaborations. There's a couple of playlists. One is historical, one is collaborations. And join in the community. Join in the comment section. I do my very best to answer every comment that's made. And I look forward to seeing you. Cheers. Bye-bye.